I guess let's get into a lighter side of a double standard. So,
is there such thing?
I mean, I want to say mine's on the lighter side, depending on who you are and how you feel.
Okay.
So the double standard that I chose was teachers that have sex with their students.
I thought you said this was supposed to be on the lighter side.
Right? So, I mean, granted, it is on the lighter side in terms of like, ain't nobody killing anybody. There's no type of genocide involved in this, at least to my knowledge. The reason why I chose the double standard between teachers having sex with students is because it's viewed differently when a female teacher has sex with a male student rather than a male teacher having sex with a female student. So when it comes to a male teacher having sex with a female student, it's like, let's get our pitchforks and kill this dude. Like, how dare he violate my daughter like that? Regardless if it was consensual or not, it's still considered statutory rape. This dude needs like the death penalty. This dude needs to go to prison for life. Like, basically, when a guy has sex with a female student, he's pretty much burdened the rest of his life. 100% evil, 100% hated on, 100% pedophile. However, for the most part, when a female teacher has sex with a male student, for the most part, it's glorified. There's men above the age of 18 that when they hear stories about female teachers, especially attractive female teachers having sex with male students, they're like, hell yeah, where were these teachers when I was going to high school? Like, man, like, I wish I could have clapped them cheeks back then too, like, blah, blah. Like, for the most part, the male student gets praised.
Yeah, on both sides, from adults and, of course, from his peers.
Yeah, from his peers and adults. Whether or not the female gets any type of sentence. And for the most part, too, female teachers' sentences are a lot lighter than male sentences. Regardless if you're female or male, you become a registered sex offender. But, however, depending on how the teacher looks, it's not really frowned upon. If anything, students or underage males feel more inclined and comfortable to probably try to hit her up, knowing that she's had sex with one of their peers before. And I feel that that's always going to be a double standard. It's always going to be around. Because if a female teacher has a sex with a male student, especially if she's attractive, like, it's always going to be glorified. Not only by his peers, but also by a good percentage of adults. And
you know what it is? It's a patriarchal thing.
Yeah.
Right? Because if a male teacher does it, it's always going to be looked at as like, oh, well, clearly the man used his position as a male in power to manipulate the young, impressionable female.
Yeah. Exactly.
Nobody looks at, women as being manipulative as well. They see as men being manipulative.
Which is kind of crazy because I feel women can be way more manipulative than men. Especially considering how thirsty men can be.
This is true. And you know what it is men don't want to think of it as they were outsmarted.
Yeah.
They want to continue thinking that they were the ones who had the upper hand in the whole thing. Even if it's just a young guy.
Yeah.
They're like, hey, I totally got this older hottie, to give me some stuff on the sly.
Yeah.
They don't want to see it as I wasn't in control.
Yeah. For men, it comes sex first, consequences later.
Right. Yeah.
That's how it is. And I'm not gonna lie.
We don't think with our brains.
We don't. And I'm not gonna lie. Like, granted, when I was going to high school, there weren't many attractive teachers, but there were two where I was like, oh man. I was like, there was a Spanish teacher and a chemistry teacher. Like, yeah, those two teachers, I was like, girl. I was like, you know. And at the time, of course, like, if something would have happened between me and these teachers, of course, I would have fucking bragged my ass off about it,
Yeah.
And
of course you would have.
Yeah. And on top of that, it kind of sucks because the student can brag about it and there's no consequences for that student. Because in the end, they're not going to press charges on a student who had sex with a older female. Same thing for a female student if she has sex with a older male. Like, the consequences all lie on the teacher, regardless. As it should be. I just think
it should be. Yeah.
Yeah. I just think it's so messed up that the male teachers get way harsher punishments than the female teachers. I feel like it should be equal punishment.
Yeah, because it's an equal crime. They're taking advantage of somebody who does not have a fully developed brain and cannot make the same types of decisions that adults would. They can't consent.
Exactly. And we all know, like, hormones go crazy in high school.
Yeah.
Well, that's why a majority of the population students get pregnant in high school.
What about if it was in college? Like, if it was a professor and his student?
See, at that point, I think it's okay because they're over the age of 18. You know,
True,
and,
but it's still, it's still
I think it's okay if there's no conflict of interest
Yeah.
and the student is not in the instructor's class.
yeah,
Okay.
like if they're trying to like bang the teacher for a grade.
For a grade.
Yeah. So see, in that in turn, there can be consequences for the student because
There can be, but more often than not, they'll look at the professor and be like, "Oh, well,
yeah,
clearly we're just using your power
yeah,
to get some action."
yeah, exactly. So
So I don't think it should occur when the student's in the professor's class, because then it's
yeah,
just there's no way around it. It's a conflict of interest, and
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. I think it's okay as long as there's no conflict of interest.
Yeah, I guess I agree with
As long as that professor doesn't have you for any of his classes, because what other reason would they have that type of relationship?
Right.
Because it's either A, I'm doing it for a grade, or B, I actually care for this person.
Yeah.
Granted, I mean, the same could be said for like a teacher and a student in high school. However, the student is still underage during that time,
Yes.
So that's why it's wrong to do. So granted, I'm not gonna say it doesn't happen. I know when I was in college, my first year of college actually, I had met a 17-year-old female who was actually engaged to a 26-year-old teacher. And of course, I'm not gonna say any names because even though they're both above the age of 18 now, he can actually still get arrested for being engaged to somebody who was underage.
Yeah.
But she was in love with him. They were engaged. I'm not gonna lie, her ring was. That dude blew his whole 2 years worth of teacher salary on that ring. I was like, he loves you, like.
Well, I mean, so, I guess he paid for it in some way,
right? But I mean, granted, sometimes it happens like that, and I want to be happy for them too, But at the same time, it's like you're playing in dangerous waters, bro.
Yeah, like I would never want somebody to not be happy as long as they're not hurting somebody else,
Yeah, it just sucks that you can't. I mean,
yeah,
it
because we have the rules that we have in place for a reason, right?
Yeah, so it's like, there's high school sweethearts that end up with each other for the rest of their lives. But for me, I feel like you don't truly understand what you want in a relationship until like you're in your like mid-20s.
Yeah.
And experienced, multiple relationships because you learn something new in each relationship.
Yeah.
You learn your likes, your dislikes, what you're willing to tolerate, what you're willing not to tolerate. And
But not only that, but you have a more developed like mindset to be able to process all of that.
Yeah.
When you're a kid, it's just hormones and that's all you're thinking with.
And that's the thing too. I think that happens with a lot of females is that when they're younger, especially in high school, when they like somebody and the feelings mutual and they have sex with somebody, they fall in love real quick. Like they're like, oh, I love him, he loves me, blah blah.
You're my one and only.
Yeah, and like, not that I think guys are dogs at all, but in high school,
we can be.
In high school, men are like, I just want to stick my picker in anything I can at this point.
Yeah, pretty
like
much.
I'm gonna hook up with any woman that offers.
That donut looks pretty warm.
Yeah.
If it's willing to give me the time of day, man.
Yeah, I think for the most part in high school, men aren't really looking for a long-term relationship. It's just relationship to get my nut off, basically.
Of course, there are the outliers. Like I was always more of a relationship type, but that's because I wanted to experience that,
Yeah, I've always been the relationship type, and I also stayed a virgin throughout high school too. So
yeah, me too. I was a very sensitive boy, and so it always
shout out
shocked
to the
me.
sensitive boys out there.
Shout out to the sensitive boys. It always shocked me whenever people would say like, "Oh, all men want is sex," and I would think like, "What? I just want a relationship."
Yeah,
I mean, there is that.
It's,
but I would want to build up to it. I don't want it right off the bat.
Yeah,
like I would. It's not the only thing. It's a part of something bigger, which is the relationship.
Yeah. Like I've always been a relationship person, and I remember one girlfriend I was dating actually got upset with me because I told her that I actually had like a 3-month rule. When it came to sex, I told her, I was like, I like to get to know the person for at least 3 months before we like have intercourse. And she's like, what? She's like, after our third date, I thought you were gonna clap these cheeks, and I was like, like, I actually want to get to know you. Like, I'm not trying just to bang you, Like, every time I'm interested in a woman and I actually like want to get to know them, you know, like, so I'm not trying to have sex with them right off the bat. I'm trying to actually develop a connection with them, you know.
Right, because you
And
might actually like them.
yeah, you know, like I don't want it to be based off of like good sex, you know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, but anyways, that's the double standard. Anyways, back on topic. That's the double standard. I feel like will always exist. Male students having sex with female teachers will, for the most part, be glorified, and male teachers having sex with female students will always be like a death sentence, basically.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's just me, but I kind of feel like, based on what I've heard in the media, it happens way more often that it's a female teacher.
Yeah.
Like, I've heard.
It's more sensationalized when it's a female teacher,
which blows my mind.
And like I know someone. We'll just say like he happened to work at a high school. We'll just call him Austin, just for like. And he would tell me that as a male teacher working with high school age girls, he wouldn't even like call them out on dress code violations because he would be afraid of being accused of like looking at them that way.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely.
That's a fair point. Yeah.
Take every
like, why are you checking me out?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's kind of impossible when you walk through the door every day,
right?
So he would ask his female colleagues to go into the classroom and say, "Hey," or like tell them like, "Hey, can you go into my class and tell this girl about her dress code?"
Yeah.
Because that'd be it's just a simple solution.
That's pretty messed up that the guy couldn't even do his job.
Exactly.
But it's true though. Like he was smart to actually get another teacher of the same gender as the student to go tell her like, hey, stop dressing like a Susia.
And like the teacher, he had a very good personality. Like people adored him. So he would get a lot of people visiting him after school, and every time he would always make sure to have the door wide open, or he had 2 doors in his class, and so doors wide open.
Yeah.
So he walks by and see nothing's going on, nothing shady.
Yeah.
That's something you just have to do as a man who's in a position like that.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, you will immediately get accused of the worst, and people will absolutely think of the worst of you.
Yeah.
Like you just have to think about how things look.
Yeah, it's definitely hard to be a man this day and age because we're so vulnerable to being accused of sexual harassment, to the point where even if you were to call like somebody like, "Oh, you look pretty today," that can also be considered sexual harassment.
Yeah.
And it sucks because like it's like, well, damn, I can't even compliment anybody anymore without it being like, "Oh, he's sexual harassing me," you know, like. And I think a big part of it has to do with whether the girl finds you attractive or not.
Yeah, exactly. Because if you're attractive, it's cool. If you're not attractive, it's creepy.
Yeah, it's creepy if she doesn't find you attractive. Yeah. And if she finds you attractive, of course, it's welcome.
Yeah.
You know, so
I think that kind of gets into attractive privilege.
Yeah.
Just like how you're talking about with female teachers that tend to be more attractive.
Yeah.
They have more leniency. That's attractive privilege right there. And
oh yeah, definitely. It
kind of goes for men and for women. Just being attractive gives you some level of leeway.
Yeah, man, that's crazy. So